Welcome to another edition of the AMI Daily Alert. This is Dr. Mike Carberry, and today we're going to talk to you about some of the ways that our clients have been helping out their patients even in the midst of this coronavirus with limited travel and limited ability to interact with people, keeping social distancing. Some doctors in some of the harder hit areas of the country have found that it's almost impossible to bring patients into their clinic, but they've still found ways to help their patients. We're going to talk about that today. I have two guests that I'm very proud to have on my show, or our show, and one of them you all know is my beautiful wife, Coleen Carberry, who is a physical therapist. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good. So Coleen went to Marquette University and graduated in 1984 with her physical therapy degree, and she specialized in traumatic brain injury and stroke rehabilitation, which was her main focus in her practice. But she also did a lot of outpatient work with different patients in even orthopedic settings. And Coleen, you've had a lot of experience with the topic we're going to talk about today, which is DME bracing for patients. Do you want to shed a little brief light on that?
Well, as you just said, my background experience is with traumatic brain injury, but most people know our story. While you were in school, chiropractic school, I worked a lot of jobs just because we did our best that we could to not take the student loans out. And so I worked in pretty much every setting. So one of them was the outpatient setting, you're right, which gave me experience with the bracing, back bracing, knee bracing, and all that we're going to discuss today. Yeah.
Good. And a lot of interesting viewpoints. The physical therapy world would rely on bracing because if you can stabilize a joint while you're rehabilitating it, it makes it less painful and more functional. So we're not talking about immobilization bracing. We're talking about bracing that allows the patient to function while they're wearing it, improving their function. Correct?
Correct. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. Okay. And our second guest that we have with us is going to be new to most of you, but we're very proud to be associated with him. We have Dr. Paul Cuva. Paul, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure
So
to be
Paul
here.
is a chiropractor, originally from New Jersey in the New York metro area. You graduated from undergrad school at Jacksonville University in 1992 and went on to get your doctorate at Life University in 1997, just a few years after I did.
That's right.
So, I'm sorry?
I said, that's right. That was one interesting
Good.
time, that's for sure.
So you practice in New Jersey and New York. You're licensed in New Jersey, New York, and Florida. But you have an interesting story where you were very successful in practice, but transitioned into corporate America. Do you want to share that story with us?
Sure, absolutely. So, in chiropractic school and in my early years, I was a technique junkie. So I loved learning about clinicals, and I was, probably like 7, 8 certifications, and I'm very interested in clinical outcomes for the patients. I have served on different committees that even carried care over into Eastern Europe, and saw thousands of patients in Moldova and some in Romania, and just enjoy the clinical setting. But after several years in practice, I became very interested in the business aspect of it and said, because you can be the best clinician in the world, but if you can't bring patient care opportunities and increasing ever amounts of increasing patient care opportunities to your patients, then soon you're going to find yourself in a rough spot. So I became interested in business. I started studying business leadership. I started studying business management, and literally have spent a small fortune on different consulting groups. And then I realized, hey, I have my own little unique way I deliver. I start helping a few friends out in practice, which became very successful. Some of them were in the field of dentistry, some of them were in chiropractic, and that led to consulting, which then I had my own consulting business, and that then led to getting a couple offers from computer software companies, a finance firm, that just kept getting ever increasing and allowed me to explore new, let's say, verticals or channels that industries to experience and apply my management skills to. And
so you actually have experience then in being a senior executive in 2 different companies outside of chiropractic. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. In the financial industry, Yes, and also in software in 2 different companies, and in a marketing company as well. Serving
Oh,
in
so 4 different
executive vice
companies.
president. Yeah,
How about
executive
that?
vice president roles, chief operating officer roles. So I have a ton of management experience, but I also bring a ton of clinical experience with me.
Now, some of your mentorship, the different authors you were reading, you share one that Coleen and I both also really follow, and that's Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, I love Napoleon Hill and have used many of his lessons, and we actually have our own mastermind that we have met at for years, and all of the folks that are in it have enjoyed a measure of success. And I've also seen some of the AMI clients apply such masterminds in their own groups that have been tremendously successful as well.
Okay. So the reason we brought Paul on with us is Paul is now working with AMI as one of the senior coaches. We are creating what's called strategic business units, or SBUs, at AMI. And Paul is going to lead those groups up with his experience in senior executive level of management. And what he's going to do is use his experience as a chiropractor, combine that with his experience in business, and help to bring our clients who mentor with Brandon Dawson up to a higher level as leading their SBU, or strategic business unit. So welcome to AMI, and welcome to the AMI Daily Alert.
And Mike, do you mind if I just elaborate? Hey, Mike, do you mind if I elaborate just a second on what you just talked about?
Absolutely. That's why I have you here.
Just because I realized that you brought up what Paul's role is going to be. And I wanted to elaborate a little on that, because Paul and I, we work closely together, don't we, Paul? And our clients know what I've done with AMI. And some clients understand the direction AMI is going in. So I just want to take like 2 minutes just to let the world know where we're going and how incredible the places that we're going, and why we hired somebody of such incredible level as Paul. So you talk about the SBU teams. Everybody, I think, knows that we've partnered with Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson, okay, to build a program that takes what AMI has already delivered, which I personally think is incredible. We have doctors that have done incredible with our program, but to combine it with business systems that Brandon Dawson has built around his company, which originally was Audigy, that is now sold, which is in the audiology space. So what Brandon did was built the business systems around a clinical system. Well, AMI has the clinical system, and he's got the business systems. And so we're combining these. And anybody who knows AMI or works with AMI, and anybody who's looked at AMI, understands we have a coaching team. So with that coaching team, they've already been using the systems, Mike, that you and I have created, right? And that's what they deliver to clients. As we bring on Brandon Dawson's business systems and marry them into our clinical systems, we're building new teams, okay? And these are called SBU teams, strategic business units, okay? These are teams of coaches. So when somebody joins AMI and enters into these teams, they now have a team of coaches. They have an operations coach, they have a marketing coach, they have an HR coach, they have a finance coach, and they have a professional development coach, okay? So instead of having one coach, okay, which now, of course, our coaching team that exists right now, we've moved them into teams, but not these teams that integrate the business systems. So what Paul is working on and what I'm working on daily, you can see me, Mike, with Cardone Ventures, who is the company that Brandon Dawson and Grant Cardone own that has joined with us, is building these business systems as they interface with AMI systems. And Paul has already been working with, we've hired 8 SBU team members already. They started in the middle of the coronavirus. We started them at home. We're working with them. Paul works with them virtually. But the whole idea is that we're building these coaching teams to deliver the business portion of the program along with the AMI portion of the program married together. So kind of as a plug where we're going for everybody to hear, it's an incredible model. And Paul, you're an incredible team member to bring on to lead these SBU teams.
Yeah, actually, it kind of goes like this. Our original idea was, how do we make our guys so successful that we can actually make a dent in the healthcare industry? The only way you can do that is not by complaining about what's there, but by coming up with a viable replacement that works better. This is called thinking outside the box. So that was our goal, and we believe we did that. But then we realized these doctors now, because of growth of their practice, are some of them becoming overwhelmed with the business side of things, which is usually lacking in a doctor's office. So along comes Brandon Dawson with this idea of, let's teach these doctors business acumen so they can actually run their businesses from a higher level, and they need help. Most of us can't afford to hire people that get a salary of over 100,000 for marketing, and then another one for HR, and another one for operations, and another one for the whole strategy of the business. So we've hired these people that have these backgrounds so that our clients can have access to them on a daily or regular basis as a coach. But then we were faced with this. How do we get these people with this expertise in business to be able to talk our language? Gee, it would be really nice if we could find an executive who has a background in healthcare and maybe even alternative healthcare, and even better yet, if it was in chiropractic. And along comes Paul. So it was a perfect find. And welcome to our team, Paul.
I'm so happy to be here, and I really appreciate being warmly received. I just wanted to let you know that I have probably purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of consulting over the years, and all of them have brought incredible value. I found value in every single program, and have had commensurate successes with the majority of them. But however, I've never, and I've spent a lot of money on personal development as well, but I've never seen a program like AMI. I have, and I mean, I looked through it from beginning to end. I studied it. It is so awesome that it's hard to say what it's going to deliver without giving away the secret sauce or the proprietary knowledge. So I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I just can't wait for other individuals, especially the folks that I know. I'm like, you better hop on quick, because you're losing money to the degree you're not engaged. It's just that easy. It's that easy.
Yeah.
And it's a program which is methodical and it's doable. So like you could do this step, and then you could do the next step, and it's delivered in such an amazing way, and you have such an amazing team, and there's tons of resources. Like once you're an AMI client, you cannot even deny the level of engagement that the senior executives are committed to, the board of directors are committed to, the pairing with Cardone Ventures, the collective wisdom of the aggregate amount of doctors involved. It is a super team. It's just not a consulting company. It's really a force in healthcare that is growing.
It's a movement.
Tremendous momentum, and will make an impact on healthcare at large.
I get asked the question. I get asked the question a lot, and I appreciate what you said. I get asked the question a lot, what makes AMI different from other consulting companies? And it's really very simple. It's not a secret. It's just we focus on the patient first, then we focus on our client's ability to help the patient. And to do that, we have to help our clients. And then we focus on that working to make money for us. And we keep it in that order. We don't look at, let's make money for us. How do we get it out of the client? And then how do they get it out of the patient? It's patient-centric. Let's get the patient well. Let's get the doctor's practice healthy. Then we'll all benefit. And that's how we look at it. It's just our viewpoint. We look at the end result first and work our way backwards. So that brings us to our topic today. Here we are cruising along, and we're doing this development of AMI and how to get it so we can help change the healthcare scene by helping our doctors be successful. And like everybody else in America, we get completely sidelined by this out of nowhere virus that was, who knows where it came from. Was it a wrath from God, or was it created by man? Who knows? But what happens is we find ourselves all isolated now and having business meetings like we're doing right now. So when this happened, AMI thought, well, what can we do to help our clients? Our clients, if they shut their doors, which a lot of our clients were talking about that, what that would do is, if it lasted a week, then it'd be fine. But if it was a couple months, which it looks like it's going to be, the people who shut their doors are going to be starting practice over again when they open their doors. So we were highly encouraging our clients to keep their doors open. And that's how we started that summit. But then we realized, you know what? The whole healthcare profession, chiropractic and alternative healthcare, has been trying to get a foothold for decades. And along comes a disease, a pandemic disease that has no medical cure. So what do you do in a situation like that? Well, the only thing that is even logical is to empower the patient to be healthy and to resist the disease. So I looked at it and went, you know what? Even though this is terrible, this is an opportunity for us to demonstrate our viewpoint on health. So a couple things happened. Number one, we wanted to be able to promote the idea of the body's ability to prevent and resist disease. But we also knew the largest burden on our healthcare system, and I'm specifically talking about ERs and urgent cares, is chronic degenerative arthritis. The number one thing that walks in there is back pain and neck pain, and you start to throw in knee pain and shoulder pain. That is the major burden on our emergency care system. So people are now finding that, okay, I don't want to go to the ER because I'm going to catch a virus. So where do I go? And then the hospital saying, we have all these people we might have to treat, especially in your neck of the woods, New Jersey and New York. We're burdened with that. We don't want to be treated back pain and neck pain. So we started realizing if we take the burden off of the emergency care system, we could actually help these patients in a non-drug way. If we could do that, then that was our goal. And one of the things we looked at was, well, DME. So I'm going to ask you, Coleen, about the DME program we put together, but I just want to throw in this little story first. I looked at DME, durable medical equipment. When I first got involved in integrated practice, people were telling me, you need to do bracing. And I'm like, I don't need to do bracing. That's just a way to make money, and it's really not for the patient. And that was my viewpoint. And I know a lot of chiropractors have that same viewpoint. And I had this one guy sit with me one time, and he said, you know what, you might be right about that. It could be that this is just all about money, but let me ask you a question. Are you open on the weekend? And I said, no. And he said, well, what happens to the patient who develops pain over the weekend? Your patient gets pain over the weekend. They do something in the yard. They hurt their back. They hurt their knee. What happens? They call you up and they say they want to come in. Are you going to go in and see them? And I said, no, I'm not even going to get that message because we have a service. And unless it's an emergency, we're going to tell them to go to the ER. And he goes, okay, so they're not going to go to the ER. What are they going to do? And I said, they're probably going to take medication. And he goes, right. What kind of medication are they going to take? And I said, well, probably over the counter. And he said, is that safe? And I said, well, Tylenol is actually one of the most dangerous drugs on earth. And he said, do you want them to do that? And I said, no. And he said, what else are they going to take? And I said, well, if they have an old prescription. And he goes, yeah, but chances are it's probably not going to be their prescription. It's going to be whatever's in their medicine cabinet. Do you want them to do that? And all of a sudden it started dawning on me, holy crap, if I could stabilize this person's back, if I could stabilize their knee, if I could stabilize their shoulder, or whatever the area was, with a durable medical equipment, they would take less medication. And then all of a sudden, bam, it was like, this is your purpose. And I realized I would rather them do that than to take anything out of their medicine cabinet. So I started agreeing, yes, let's start doing DME. And then when I saw how good it worked, it was unbelievable. So one of the things we focused on early, Coleen, was how do we help our clients? If we could do something like that where these patients couldn't come in and we don't want them taking medicine in their medicine cabinet, what could we do to that patient, even if they weren't an established patient, that could help them at home without taking medication? And your idea was DME. So why don't you tell us about the program that you came up with?
Well, what I did was, you're absolutely right that the evolution, the thought evolution was, you know, when we were at the mastermind session in Lake Tahoe with our mastermind clients, and Donald Trump made the announcement on that Saturday back in March that basically said on Monday, everybody's sheltering at home. You know, we actually had our staff in Tahoe, and our staff went right into motion on that Saturday of what could we do to help deliver to our clients on Monday. And of course, everybody, you know, came up with immune boosting program, which was, you know, nobody knew how long this was going to last. We just knew that people were getting sick. And so our original thought process was we need to get out to our community that we are a haven to improve their immune systems. And so our staff went into action on Sunday. They had the plan in place. The staff called. The patients called on Sunday. So on Monday, we were ready to go. Orders placed. But you're right, Mike. As we got into the week, we realized, okay, we do need to boost the immune system of our existing patients and our community, but this thing could go on for a while, right? And as that week went on, we realized, you know what? We actually need to actually step back and realize if this COVID-19 stay-at-home order goes on for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, we need to like regroup and decide how can we serve our community. So I took a look at our AMI program and I looked at everything that we possibly could deliver a patient who's at home. And then, of course, we all know that the evolution of the telemedicine laws came. They loosened the restrictions on telemedicine. Then they even the federal government loosened the fact that you could use any billing code that you would normally use in the office. you can use across telemedicine and bill it as if it was in the office. And all of that set my mind, like my wheels turning, going, let me look at everything that's delivered, not only in our office in Chattanooga, because we have a functioning office in Chattanooga. So we're like, our fingers are on the pulse of what's happening. Then I looked at the AMI model and I said, what can we deliver? And I went back and forth between the rehab, immune boosting visits and the DME and all the things. And I said, all right, well, okay. I think what we can do is we can do rehab and we can do DME. So we tried working the logistics out on the rehab. Finally, I settled in on the bracing as we looked at that and said, you know what? We can get the biggest bang for our buck, meaning we can actually help to do two things with patients at home. One of them is if they're already in the middle of a treatment plan, right? We can help them so that they are, that we can, I don't want to say maintain them, but we don't want them sliding all the way back to square one. So when they show up after COVID-19, we're starting all over. We want them to be in a holding pattern and give them a tool at home, like you suggested, not in the medicine cabinet, right? If we have patients coming in our office, we know that they're going home and they're doing all these other activities, physical activities, because they're not going to work anymore. So they come to our office and then they go home. So when I put that together, I said, okay. So I took the DME program that AMI normally has, and which is there's phases to it, but I built upon that program. And Paul's going to later explain to us some of what we built on, but that's why the program was developed. It was like, how can we help our existing patients, and how can we help our community who was now sheltering at home, as you said, that we did not want going into the ER because of the COVID-19, and we did not want them taking medication out of the medicine cabinet. So that's why the program.
And the thing that excited me about that program is you start thinking about, well, how long could this go on? And eventually what's going to happen is if they were just relying on medication, one, their tolerance for the pain goes down, so they have to take more medication. That's a proven fact. But what's going to happen when these people run out of medication in their cabinet? Then they're going to be running out buying the Tylenol and the Advil. And the World Health Organization comes out and says in the first week of this, the worst, now I'm not giving an endorsement to the World Health Organization, but they were correct about this statement. The worst medication you could be taking in an environment where there's a pandemic virus is anti-inflammatories, because it's also known as stop the healing drug. What a great way to lower your immunity and make you more susceptible. So we don't want them going out and buying that. So I started thinking, this could go on for months. Let's give them something that will last a lifetime to help them with pain should they get hurt doing their jobs around the house, which everybody started doing. If you go to Home Depot and Lowe's, there's actually marks in the parking lot to keep everybody 6 feet apart while they're waiting in line to get in the store to do the project, which is going to hurt them. So I thought, what a brilliant idea that we do this. So you quickly started putting your action hat on and putting a system together to get this out to our clients. And we're thinking, okay, who do we have that could handle this? And all of a sudden, boom, we have an executive who's got a background in healthcare, specifically chiropractic. Let's ask Paul if he'd be willing to be part of the team. And we did. And Paul graciously said, absolutely, I'm here to help. And so now what happens is we bring on Paul to do this program, which is brilliant, that Coleen came up with. And Paul, why don't you explain to us a little bit, you have to establish the medical necessity. If you're going to put these braces out there, you can't just start saying, oh, well, you've got coverage, here's a brace, here's a brace, here's a brace.
Right.
We have to establish now medical necessity, and it might be in the office or it might be via telemedicine. So what do you want to tell us about how we were doing this plan to establish medical necessity?
Well, the first part is that all the staff, what I've seen to be successful is that all the staff in offices that are implementing the DME program are all on board. They are trained by the owner. They're all imbued with the idea of why it's beneficial to the patient. Okay, how is the patient receiving a benefit? And the bottom line goes, well, one, patient understands that with more support, they will get a degree of pain relief, just some degree of pain relief versus no brace in many cases. To that degree, they're keeping their hands out of the medicine cabinet, like you stated before. They're not reaching for Advil or something heavier, OxyContin, fentanyl, Percocet, whatever it might be. And it's not like static bracing or we're just going to leave it on. This is functional bracing. So because it's supported motion, It allows them to have more favorable prognoses to some degree, and not go backwards, or at least hold their position in space so it doesn't exactly regress. So those are some of the benefits. And to your point, AMI is not anti-pharmacy, but we are pro common sense. It's like, if we can provide a patient a measure of pain relief that's non-narcotic, boy, it would serve their interest in many cases to give that to them. And on the front end, it is the job of the treating physician to establish medical necessity properly. So the treating physician looks and sees, are positive orthopedic tests? Are there positive findings on X-ray? Are there positive findings on a functional exam? Okay, and then starts to paint a picture of, is there a patient care opportunity here which would serve the patient's interest and create a more favorable prognosis if DME were to be implemented, like a back brace. Now, I've also seen doctors who are very, very, go the extra mile, and they look up and down the kinetic chain. And they'll also see, is the low back problem being affected by perhaps, let's say, a knee problem? So they're also taking their time going through, and literally it might take, a little bit of extra time, but they're being very good with their intake methodologies to be certain to be complete on kinetic chain, let's say, conditions that might increase the pain in another area of the body, just to make it more simplistic, and doing a proper exam there. So if there's something, let's say a knee, for instance, if they can stabilize a knee, that might be the underlying cause of a pelvic instability causing a hot disc, well, then it would just make sense. In many cases, you'll find people coming in that might be, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight. And for each pound overweight can put 3 to 4 pounds worth of pressure to a knee. That's quite significant. So we're not just giving a brace per se that you can order off, go to Walgreens. This is very specific offloading bracing that will actually be all of the care that's provided by AMI doctors, including regenerative medicine, chiropractic rehab, more favorable to that degree.
Exactly. So our clients, we teach them at our trainings how to establish medical necessity in the office. I mean, like, if you have an X-ray, that's great, and you can take an X-ray of the knee, and if they do have that degenerative, I think it's 85% of the time it's medial degeneration, 15% of the time it's lateral. And if you understand that, you can actually put that bracing in such a way to offload the pain of that joint. Same thing with the back, if they have degeneration in the back. But what became difficult is some of these guys are not going to see these patients face to face, and you had to establish medical necessity via telemedicine. And I've heard Coleen on the phone with you going over explanations to a patient how to do certain tests to see if it was positive, to see if they were warranted, if you could establish medical necessity over telemedicine. That must have been challenging. Did you find that? I heard Coleen talking about it, but I know you guys established those things.
Just so you know, Mike, I worked with our nurse practitioner in Chattanooga. I got on the phone because she's the one, Paul, you're right, she's a clinician in our office. It's medically integrated, so the nurse practitioner sees the patient. And she went through the AMI examination and said, okay, if I was going to see somebody through telemedicine, right, these are the tests that I would do for a low back that I could do through telemedicine and have them perform, or have somebody in the room with them to, or have a wall. I think it's because on telemedicine you want privacy, so maybe have a wall that they can lean against, but to be able to look at some range of motion and do some testing and give her some feedback. So she actually gave me, for the low back and the knees, these are the tests that she would do over telemedicine with a patient she had not seen before. Because you have to remember, you might not have x-rays because you didn't, they're a new patient. So with that, I created an exam form that one would use over telemedicine. And I just didn't pick these tests because I think I can pick them. I actually had a medical person tell me these are the tests that you can do. And so, yeah, you're right. We developed something that Paul's team uses. Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit, just maybe a helicopter view of, like, is there, like, it's like there's a progression on this program, right? And then you move them to do something.
Sure, I'd love to do that. So the program is just designed to be very simple. So if it's just followed the way it's presented, it is so easy to do. So the first phase of the program allows the doctor to deliver bracing to his existing patients or her existing patients in office. So they become competent and make sure they're any treating physicians or people doing the exams are competent at, you making sure that it's medically indicated. And then when they are, everything else, they get their bracing, they know how to fit it. The patients are happy, they're feeling that relief. So this isn't just like a knee brace that you just slap it on. This is something that's, there are little tension levers, and you can turn something to put a little more pressure. These are very specific types of tensioning to the patient's, let's say, support to the patient's liking. So this is an experience. It's not just a break. This is an experience that the patient receives that they can actually feel they're doing better. And when that can get delivered to existing patients in the office, and we can prove that the doctor and their clinicians and their staff have they're doing it successfully and have no further questions, well then we unlock phase two, and which is so necessary right now. Phase two is allowing the doctor to deliver it via telemedicine. Now we have so many patients because of COVID that are, they just don't want to come out of their house. They've been ordered to, shelter in place. That they might be of high risk and ordered by their physicians to shelter in place. And even after the shelter in place gets lifted, how many patients are going to be quick to, run back to normal life, to see movies, events, going for care? That's going to be a little adjustment period. So we now have set up the clinics so that they can deliver telehealth and telemedicine to patients that are sheltering in place, that are their existing patients. And
Coleen, I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but I know, Coleen, you have a personal experience with your mother with this type of treatment. Did you want to relate that?
Sure. Well, do you want, before I jump into that, do you want to finish just a real quick recap of the end section of it, Paul?
Sure.
Kind of pop over into that story, Mike.
Perfect.
Okay.
So we have phase one is where the doctors learn to deliver bracing inside of their existing office to their existing patients.
Yeah.
Phase two is we unlock all of the different assets that will support the doctor to deliver telehealth to their existing patients who might be mid-care, who might be needing some help, or who might even have a new complaint. Okay, so it's a way to stay in touch with your patients, show them that you care, show them that your clinic is active and serving as an opinion leader and a beacon of help during this time. So that's important. And phase three allows the doctor to reach out to new patients who might be needing some care, who do not have the opportunity to come in the office. So those are the three phases of our program. And I have doctors on all different phases and making some very, very, very significant impacts for their patient base and their community, because they've increased their patient care opportunities. And as a result, the patients are happy and doing well.
Got it. That's very awesome.
And, so now I'll get into that story, Mike. When we were looking at this program and building this program, I had this story that had literally just occurred in my life in January, which, I had this thing sitting there, which was a problem that my mom was trying to solve as I was building this. And by putting all this data together, this is why the program was built. And Paul just said that it's got 3 phases to it. So I can tell you this: in January, my mom, we went to see we were visiting my mom in Naples, Florida. As everybody knows, that you guys know that we have a house there. So we're visiting with my mom. My sister is there, and my mom we get down there, and my mom has terrible, terrible low back pain. Now she's going to be 90 years old soon. And my older sister happens to be a nurse. And so she spent the week like having her rest and, giving her Advil and this kind of stuff. So she says to me, I got to go home to New Jersey. I need you and Mike. Can you and Mike stay here long enough to make sure mom is okay? Because she needs help. She can't make her breakfast or anything. Now, my mother is completely independent, right? She volunteers at the hospital. She drives, she goes to bingo. Of her friends, she is the driver, right? So she is completely independent. So for her to not be able to get up and get her breakfast is like, whoa. So I said to my sister, totally fine, I'll handle this. So I took over and I was like, I said to Mike, wow, she's really like, this pain is so bad. Like she told me it's a 9 out of 10. Like she can't get up. It's so bad. So Mike did look at her, did a little motion with her, but of course at almost 90 years old, her spine's never been x-rayed, right? She's never been adjusted by a chiropractor because I think, Mike, she's always said, you're the best chiropractor in the United States, but I don't need chiropractic, right? My mom's a nurse by trade, so she's never been adjusted. So I said to her, I said, Mom, we got to we need to actually do something about this, like take some action. She said, well, your sister helped me make an appointment at the doctor's office, and I have an appointment, I don't know, whatever day it was, like a Monday or something. And I was like, okay, fine. So I said to Mike, I said, you know what, Mike, I don't know what's going to happen at the doctor's office, but I know what usually happens at the doctor's office. And if what usually happens is medication or basically rest, we can't leave her. We can't leave her and go back to Clearwater. So we picked up Mike, we did a little research, found a doctor, which I want to do a shout out to Dr. Stokey and his staff in Florida for taking such good care of my mom. Mike gave a call to Dr. Stokey and said, hey, and gave the situation. He said, no worries, bring your mom up. So I said, okay, Mom, here's the deal. I'm going to take you to the doctor's office. I'll sit with you. If the doctor gives you the resolution that you want, which is obviously to solve your problem so that you can live independently, we're good. If not, are you willing to go see a chiropractor? Mike spoke to a client, really upstack guy, great office, not far from here at all. Are you willing? And now she said, Coleen, I mean, literally, she's in such pain, she can barely move. I am willing to do whatever it takes to get better. So I said, okay, fine. So I said to Mike, all right, Mike, I'm going to take her to the doctor's office. And if things are not,
we took her together.
I took her, right? I said, I'm going to call you if things don't work out, right?
Oh, you went, yeah, right. You went to her family doctor. Right.
Yeah. So Dr. Stokey was on in the background on hold saying that he was there if we needed him. So we went, first of all, her pain was so bad that she had to recline the front seat of the car because she couldn't sit up straight. Okay. The whole ride, she had to brace herself because every little bump in the car, okay, was like, it was excruciating pain for her. So we get to the doctor's office. She can't sit in the waiting room. So we fill everything out and I tell the front desk, you need to like move it along because obviously she can't sit. Now the whole place is filled with obviously sick people because, you know, the medical system is a sick system. People go to the medical doctor when they're sick, basically. So we get back there and the medical person comes in and I introduce myself. I don't tell her, I just say I'm a physical therapist by trade. And, you know, my mom is there. And so the doctor sits probably 8 feet away from us and he's got the computer there because there's EMR and he's asking her questions. And, you know, he said, how long have you had the pain for? What is it like? And this kind of thing. He's asking. And then he kind of looks at her and he's like, okay, so, and he's looking at me, of course, just looking at me and looking at her. And he's like, so I guess I think I'm going to order an MRI. And my mother goes, I cannot get in an MRI. I can't even sit in a chair. I cannot lay in an MRI. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, well, and he keeps looking at me and looking at her. And he goes, I guess I could order some x-rays. And I go, okay. I said, do you want to like examine her? Like maybe Mom, why don't you feel her back? He had yet to touch her. Okay. So he's like, okay, I think that's a good idea. So he came over and I said, Mom, turn around because her skin was so sensitive. You just blow on it. And she like went through the roof. So lifted her shirt because he started just kind of poking around and I'm like, oh, no. So I lifted her shirt and he could see that where the tenderness was. So we kind of pushed around a little bit. And that was his exam. He didn't do one orthopedic test. And he's like, well, I guess, yeah, some x-rays. And I said, yeah, that would be good. And he goes, so I'm going to get some low back x-rays. And I go, okay. You know, if you notice, she's got really bad kyphosis and her head is forward. And I know her low back is the problem, but possibly x-rays of the whole spine because maybe some other area of the spine is causing more of a problem. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. So he wrote those x-rays. He wrote the x-ray orders. And he's like, okay. Then he looked at my mom and said, I'd like to give you a painkiller. And my mom goes, I'm almost 90 years old. If you give me a painkiller, that's like a death wish on me. I cannot take a painkiller. So he looks at me again and I go, well, maybe after the x-rays, there could be some physical therapy. And he goes, that's a good idea. I write her an order. And I said, why don't you write her the order now? Because you know she's going to need it. and then we can go after the x-rays come in. And he goes, okay, good. So he writes the x-ray order for the full spine and the PT order, and we get up, he leaves, he gets up to go, and I go, so what do you think, Mom? And she goes, what am I supposed to do about my pain? And I go, it's a good question. I said, why don't we go up and get these x-rays scheduled? Because I thought, all right, they'll take her right over and take x-ray, right? Woman's almost 90 years old. She's a 9 out of 10 in pain and can't sit down. Of course they're going to usher her right in for x-rays. So we go back up to the counter, and they look and they go, we have an appointment, this is Monday, Thursday afternoon for x-rays. And I go, Thursday afternoon? She can't sit down. She's a 9 out of 10 in the pain scale. And they go, I don't know what to say, but we're all booked up Thursday for x-rays. And my mother goes, what am I supposed to do for my pain? And I go, don't worry, Mom, no worries. I said, you know what? Schedule the x-rays for Thursday. They scheduled them. I said, come on, Mom, let's go. So we went out in the car. She's laying down. I said, what do you think? Should we go to the chiropractor? She goes, take me to the chiropractor. So I called up Mike and I go, meet me at the chiropractor, right? So we drive
up to the chiropractic office. And from that point on.
I got to tell you, when I was in the doctor's office, it was like, you know, when you're in a sick system, everybody is sick. There's no life. Everybody's talking about their illness and their sickness. And it's just, there's no life. Everything is about preparing you for your illness. We get to Dr. Stokey's office, right? It's like wide open. It's bright. It's like life. And my mother walked in. She's like, oh. And of course they were so fabulous to her, right?
They were fabulous. And Dr. Stokey, just beautiful bedside manner. He handled your mother like I couldn't have asked for a better experience. I mean,
yeah.
He comforted her, reassured her. He took her x-rays. We looked at her x-rays. She didn't have the amount of degeneration we expected. We realized this is a very fixable thing. And in just a matter of like, I don't know, a half hour, 40 minutes, he had figured out the whole problem and explained it to her, and she agreed with him. And my mother-in-law, although I didn't deliver her first adjustment, I stood right there and watched her first adjustment, which gave her significant relief. So
yeah.
What a phenomenal story.
I'm going to tell you this. Now, this is from a daughter's point of view. Okay, Mike, when you were looking at the x-rays with Dr. Stokey, she was next to me, right? And she like teared up. And I said, Mom, I go, isn't it, you said there was like a facet or something, I don't know, something, whatever. And you were saying, oh, this is something, we can do something about this. And she kind of teared up and she was like, oh, thank goodness. And I said to her, I said, yeah, you know, I go, like, I'm thinking, I'm so glad you're having this wonderful experience, but I realized something else is going on. And she said to me, I was so worried that I was going to lose my independence and I could end up in a nursing home or something like that, and that's where I will die. She said, I don't ever want to go to a nursing home. And I realized this was way bigger than I picked up on, right? This is like, this is what AMI is all about, right? We restore people's lives, okay? So our offices are life. Our offices look to find the source of the problem so we can give the person either a tool at home, like back bracing we're talking about, but handle the problem so they can, their life is restored to the way they want it. So I looked at my mother and I realized she was like, okay, this guy is going to give me my independence back. So she did that. She had a massage. You're right. Dr. Stokey adjusted her. She went to a 5 out of 10 in pain when we left. Okay. We actually went out to eat afterwards. She couldn't sit in a chair. We sat in a restaurant, didn't we? And ate afterwards at that burger place. She had a good burger place. Yeah. So we took her back on Wednesday. She was very happy to come back on Wednesday. She plugged everything into the EMR. She had her treatment. She was down to like a 3 out of a 10 in pain. I think she took herself back up the next time by herself. Then, of course, the coronavirus hit. But she was given a back brace. She was given a back brace as a tool to use at home while she's sheltering at home. Because at her age, she's sheltering at home. Yep.
Yeah, and now she's like completely out of pain and totally functional. Thank goodness we did what we did. But we realized one of the important components to that is the ability to help her avoid medication, which is this program. So we came up with this program, you establish the phases, and you're taking this to people, our clients, and you're saying, let's teach this to our clients so they can actually keep in communication with their patients, helping their patients. And we have a couple testimonials that of people that you have worked with. So why don't we take a few minutes here and watch a couple of these testimonials of people that the two of you have worked with and help put this program in place so they can start to deliver these services to their patients, even in the midst of this coronavirus epidemic or pandemic.
I'm Steve Lipschutz, and my practice is in Rockville, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. I've been in practice for almost 27 years. Actually, almost 28 years. Well, I started out as a chiropractic practice, solo practice in 1993. We grew from 1993 to 1997. We grew into a 3 chiropractor practice. And then in the fall of 1997, I became a multi-specialty practice, brought on a medical doctor, brought on a full-time physical therapist, brought on a massage therapist. And from 1997 until early 2019, we were a full-fledged multi-specialty medical center: physical medicine, acupuncture, chiropractic, physical therapy, massage, osteopathic manipulation. And then about a year ago, our medical doctor retired, and we went back to being a chiropractic, physical therapy, and massage practice. And we've been doing that for about the past year. Practice was, well, for the past year since our medical doctor left, the practice had changed quite a bit. Our revenue had decreased. It became much more difficult to get new patients. We had still a thriving practice, but wasn't quite where it was, the years prior to us losing our medical doctor. We were, right before coronavirus hit, we were averaging about 400 patient visits a week. Typical in the years before that was more around 500 patient visits a week. And come March 21st, we were out of business. The governor here, Governor Hogan, suggested that we only do emergency visits. And I just felt that in the best interest of the public and our patients and our staff and their families, that we needed to shut down to be able to practice the physical distancing that they were talking about. So we've been closed since March 21st. So once we were closed down, obviously the focus became, hey, what can we do to earn a living? What can we do to keep in touch with patients? What can we do to make it so that when we're ready to open back up again, we're ready to roll? So I had been doing some research about with some marketing companies. I had wanted to get back into doing the integrated practice again. So I spoke with the people at AMI, and they had what I kind of considered kind of an interim program to get me going as far as keeping us going while we were closed. So they introduced me to the durable medical equipment program, and it has been fantastic. I've been doing it for the last about week and a half, and I'm just about to get my 2 associates going on it as well. I wanted to get my feet wet first before I turn them loose on it. And it's been terrific. Patients have been thrilled to hear from me. Patients have been thrilled to hear that we're able to do something for them in the interim until they can get back in the office. It's been terrific. It's been mainly for our existing patients. I am getting some phone calls. I am getting some emergency phone calls. So I've been helping patients out that are having new, more acute complaints. But for the most part, I've been contacting our ongoing, more chronic patients that I knew would be having some trouble working from home, not exercising, not being able to get out, not being able to come in and get adjusted and take care of themselves. And the truth is, most of them have been hurting. Most of them have been glad to hear from me. I'm getting kind of an inflated ego because they're so glad to hear from me. The trouble is when they find out that we're still not open, they're kind of disappointed. But it's given me a way to keep in contact with them, help them out, and give them some hope, and let them know hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be back up and running. What I did watch was the Cardone Ventures 10X presentation last week. That was mainly about marketing, and that was terrific. I've signed up to be on their list. They're going to be doing, I believe, a weekly webinar, and that was terrific last week. Gave me a lot of great ideas and a lot of things that I think I'll be able to put to use the second we're up and running, actually before we're up and running, because they talked about ways of mass texting patients to keep in touch, and doing some ringless voicemails that I thought was terrific. The future of my practice is, I think it's looking bright. I've been spending my time, I have a nurse practitioner that's going to be starting with us once we get back up and running, who specializes in pain management, so it's a perfect fit for our practice. And I think the DME will be terrific for those patients that are coming in and they're really acute to begin with. We haven't been doing the bracing. It'll help provide them some immediate relief so that we can get them into a good plan of care and get them feeling better even quicker without the use of medications. So I think it's going to be great. I've done the multi-specialty, medical practice before, but I definitely need some brushing up on it. So I'm looking forward to working with AMI to make sure that we're doing everything properly and really get back up and running with the multi-specialty center. There's no doubt it's the way to go. I miss it. I want to get back. I treated a couple emergency patients this week for the first time. It was the first time I had adjusted anybody in over a month. And I don't think you realize just how much you enjoy it until it's not there. I've missed it. And it was great having somebody, back on the table so that I could, really enjoy treating a patient again. It was terrific.
Hi, my name is Mike Kaufman. I have a undergrad degree in business management from Muhlenberg College, and my chiropractic degree is from Life University in Georgia. Been a chiropractor since June 2000. Well, we've had a nice family practice. We don't do much personal injury, but we concentrate on taking care of full families, wellness practice, and we have lots of very young, very active families engaged in all kinds of sports, and it's been a great practice so far. We joined AMI the first week of January. I wanted to start offering more services to my patients. I wanted to give them a more full service than what we're currently able to offer. We were going fast and strong until the coronavirus hit. We were able to integrate into medicine, the full integrated practice in 10 weeks, got our first injection done with regenerative medicine at the 10-week mark, and then the coronavirus hit. Well, when coronavirus hit, we all got that feeling in the pit of our stomach and kind of our tail between our legs. But I kind of went a different way with it, and I felt that this was an opportunity for us. We went so fast and so strong into integration that gave us an opportunity to slow down a little bit and really educate ourselves. And we felt that once this was over, we'd come out a lot stronger and be better for it. And at the same time, think of what other services we can do to implement during the virus and work out those systems so when we come out of it, we're even stronger for it. Yeah, we listened to the dailies most of the time, and we did listen to the summit. The problem that I've had a lot of times is there's so much information out there that if you listen to everything, you don't have the time to implement what you've just learned. So we walk that tightrope between listening to as much as we can and implementing what we want to and feels appropriate for our practice. It's helped a lot. Obviously, the biggest thing that we've been able to do is more DME. And before we did DME, but we didn't really systematize it. Now we have a real system, real plan, a real way to give the benefit to our patients so that they can use these products. And it's been wonderful for them. They all love it. You introduce somebody and they say, "Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you so much." And they go and use it. Yeah, so for the remainder of the shutdown, we are actually still doing regenerative medicine. We just did one yesterday. We expect to have another one at the end of this week. And during this whole process, we've been able to get our nurse practitioner the Medicare number. I expect today or certainly by tomorrow to be able to have our DME certification for Medicare. So that's been a huge plus for us. During the rest of this, we're just going to keep on learning more about DME, learning more about our regenerative medicine program, start to do more rehab, and enjoy the slowdown to actually get a little rest. And then when we get out of this, we're going full on. We've, like I said, we've tried other companies and to get us the coaching we need, but this has really been the first time that not only do you have the coach, but you have other coaches coming involved when you need them. and pointing in the right direction, giving me the push. And it's just the right amount of pushing to at least for me, to get me to act upon and to make a big difference. So the interesting about AMI is that I have been a client of other coaching companies, chiropractic coaching companies. The other companies will tell you, now's the time to do a lecture, or now's the time to implement this product like a DME product. And this is the first company that will actually give you the lecture and how you should do it, and give you the tools to put you in touch with the people to get you the products. So you are teaching how to fish, not just giving you a fish.
Okay, well, Paul, that was pretty amazing. Those guys had some really good testimonials. So you have these 3 phases that you're trying to get to these clients. Phase 1 is actually treating their existing patients in their office and giving them DME, where so a lot of our clients said, I've done that before, and that's good. Phase 2 is using DME for patients who are trapped at home via telehealth, right? Which is different now. And then phase 3 is treating new patients via telehealth. So this is stuff that none of us had experience with before. What were your actionable steps? How did you get these doctors engaged to start to deploy these things?
Well, I'm excited to let you know that. So the first part, which is our phase 1, is when we have a client will call in and say, hey, I want to get the DME program in my office. And we say, okay, great. We listen to them. So you're on the phone with me, and I will obviously ask a few questions and get a present time picture of your office right now with the COVID pandemic. Are you open? Have you furloughed any staff? What percent of people walk out of your office right now with some form of bracing? And what does your practice picture look like? Are you a majority major medical? Are you mostly Medicare? And then I kind of know what assets that I have that I can deploy to them in a very easy to do format. And we do it right there on the phone. We start going through step by step of the program, and we do some of the action steps together. And we do not wait until it's, a week out, 2 weeks out. We are following up. I will even assign a specific DME coach, which I will supervise to keep the cadence of the DME program going for every single client. And some
So
need
Paul,
to
tell me,
meet.
how often your DME technical coach, how often might this coach talk to somebody?
The coach will meet every day as necessary, or every other day, or every 3 days. But the idea of the coach is to help serve as a resource for any questions or any slows or stops during the program. But the idea is to keep the client moving through this quickly. This is not something that we do not have the luxury of time right now during this pandemic. We have to help a lot of people, and we have to do it quickly. So if you really want to serve your patient base and be a strong opinion leader in your community, and a respected physician that's helping your people, well, then you got to move it through it quickly so that you can get through so you can get to phase 2 where you can deliver telehealth.
Yeah.
Amazing. So the whole environment changes. We have things happening where the president comes on and announces allowed to be able to do telehealth across state lines. Then they come on, they announce you can get your Medicare number in a day, which it used to be 4 months. Then they come on and say you can get your DME certificate for Medicare in less than a week, which it used to be a year or 2. And it's happening so rapidly and so fast.
Right.
So now these guys, what I started seeing and people I spoke to is they realized, if I want to do something to help that person avoid going into the ER and burdening that healthcare system while it's trying to deal with a pandemic, I could be very helpful to the whole society. And I don't want to do harm. So these braces don't hurt anybody. So now we open this up to doctors who are not even our clients, which is brilliant. I mean, we weren't thinking, oh, well, how can we sell more to other people? We're thinking, how could we help doctors help people, right?
Exactly.
So you came up with this idea of teaching this to people who are not even clients of ours. So you guys want to mention anything about that?
Well, I could just quickly tell you when I created the program, and the purpose, of course, was we have our existing AMI client base, and it's not business as usual. So what can they do to serve their community, which is how the whole idea was born, right? And it was really only phase 1 and phase 2. And then it was like, golly, you know, why can't they also serve their community, which is why phase 3 came about, which was actually being able to market to your community, to be able to help people sheltering at home. And, you know, I bring back that story of my mom, you know, she's sheltering at home. This would have been a disaster for her. If her low back flares up, it's a disaster. If she does not have that brace is a godsend to her, because if it flares up sheltering at home, she can't go sit in an ER. At her age, she cannot sit in an ER. So literally it is saving her life. And I know it sounds like, wow, that sounds too fantastic. It's actually really not. There's people at home that need help. So that phase 3 program was born for that. And then Paul, you and I talked, and I was like, we don't have luxury of time, which means we need action, like first phone call, action, assignment, 24 hours later, return the assignment. It literally clips like this. And I know that we already have, as you said, Mike, we have people that are not AMI clients purchase the program. Within 3, 4, 5 days, they're delivering. I mean, they're functioning, they're fully delivering, and all delivering braces. It's that quick.
Let's take a few minutes and listen to a couple of those testimonials and see what they had to say.
My name is Dr. Hurst Peacock, and I practice in Auburn, Alabama. I've been practicing for about 15 years, actually 15 years this month. And right now we don't have an integrated clinic yet. We are looking for a medical doctor right now. So it's chiropractic and rehab only for the moment. Actually, practice right before the coronavirus was really awesome, because we joined AMI in January, and we had been to our second seminar, our second training, and we had seen our closing rate go from about 45% to over 90% based on what we had learned at the first 2 trainings. So we were really poised to, you know, like we were literally poised for March to be a record month for us. And then of course, you know, we got shut down, our state shut down about halfway through. You know, so we didn't make that record month, but the great thing about it is we know that we have the tools to do that now. So when the coronavirus hit, you know, we actually have a statewide shutdown right now. Ours is one of the states where our governor has said, you know, everybody has to shelter in place, which, you know, it definitely dramatically reduced the amount of traffic that we had coming through the office. That record month that we were looking for, it didn't happen. We are still considered an essential service, which is good. Because we don't have a medical doctor, and because we practice in the state of Alabama, we don't have things like telemedicine that we can do. You know, we are sort of limited as far as what we can do. But learning what we have learned from AMI as well as the Business Academy, the first thing that we did was we started making a whole bunch of videos for people, you know, educating people, and, you know, sort of letting them know that we were still here, that we were still open, that we were considered an essential service, and that there's a reason that we were considered an essential service. You know, the governor didn't allow us to continue to practice when she shut other medical practices down for no reason. So we educated them about why that was. And, you know, we were able to tell everybody, listen, there's 2 big reasons that we're staying open for you. One is that we have to take the pressure off of hospitals and clinics and, you know, other places where people may go to find help from pain, you know, spinal pain. That's number one. And number 2 is when you come in and you get adjusted, it really boosts your immune system. So we talked about different studies that, you know, that sort of proved that. We talked about the flu, the Spanish flu from 1917 and 1918. I don't know if you know this or not, but Palmer did a study or a statistical analysis back then. And what they found out was that people who did not go to the chiropractor were dying at a rate in Iowa of 1 in 15. But the people that were actually going in and getting adjusted were dying at a rate of 1 in 789. So there was a huge difference. You know, it was definitely making a difference for people back then. So the first thing we did was, you know, we put out a lot of videos and we educated people. The second thing that we did was we watched the AMI Summit that you guys put together, and also the Business Academy. I was on the AMI and I put Aaron on the Business Academy. So we started to implement as many of those things as we could do in our state. So we're now selling supplements to help boost people's immune system through this. We are doing a whole lot with DMEs that, we were already starting to do that because we learned, very early on in AMI about the benefits of bracing and how to do that. But we really ramped that up. Having Dr. Paul coach us through that was very beneficial. So those are some of the things that we've done since this whole thing started. I really don't know if we hadn't had the benefit of those things, if we would be able to keep our doors open right now. There have been, I don't know the status of every chiropractor in the locale that I practice in, but I know that at least 2 of them that are sort of our biggest competitors, they've had to shut their doors. I was telling Dr. Carberry yesterday that I was looking at our Blue Cross Blue Shield remit for this coming week, and 60% of our entire revenue coming from Blue Cross Blue Shield this week is going to be from DMEs, which, in Alabama, that's huge. I mean, Blue Cross Blue Shield is really the only game in town when you're talking about commercial insurance. So it's definitely been a lifesaver. I mean, it's enabled us to stay open for the public. Really just to underscore the whole idea of, if I hadn't been with AMI through this, my emotional state would be completely different right now. I would really be worried right now. I'd really be upset. I'd really be, angry and resentful and thinking that, hey, I'm going to have to start all over again with my practice when the smoke finally clears from this. But I actually haven't experienced any of that at all. And it's because no matter what happens, I know that I'm going to have the tools to pick up and quickly get back on track and, quickly surpass what we were doing before this whole thing happened. In AMI, you have a community of people, professionals and experts who know what they're doing, and they've been down roads like this before, and they know how to deal with it. So I would say, find the community where you can get help. This is not something that you want to kind of wander through, you don't want to wander through this forest by yourself right now.
Wow, what a phenomenal set of testimonials, and to see that we have people who are not even clients now able to deliver in just a couple of days to not only help their patients and unburden the healthcare system, but it's also helping their practice. These doctors a lot of them are not sure what to do, and now you guys have given a way for them to improve their community, unburden the healthcare system, and help their practice at the same time. Kudos to both of you. What a phenomenal, phenomenal program you put together. So Coleen, if somebody's listening to this and they're saying, how do I get involved, whether a client or not, what do they do?
Well, if you're an existing client that has an existing coach right now, just tell your coach, get me to Paul. Basically, that's all you have to do. If you're an AMI client that it does not have an active coach right now, just reach back out to your coach, call into AMI and say, I want to get to that guy, Paul. I want this program, okay? If you're not an existing AMI client, we actually sorted out a very small program that will literally get you up and functioning so super quick. There's a number on the bottom of the screen. Just call on into that number. They'll give you all the data that you need to know.
Phenomenal. So again, what a wonderful thing you guys have put together. And it came from the idea of how can we serve our community, not how can we serve ourselves. And then that trickle down effect, it's helping our clients, it's helping our people who are not even clients. So what a well done thing that you've done for the community and done for the healthcare system. So I'm really proud to say that you're both very, very integral part of this team, and I'm glad to be part of this team. So thank you so much for coming on and joining us, Paul and Coleen, in this program. And if you're listening and you want to be part of this, just reach out to that number on the bottom of the screen. If you're a client, reach out to your coach, and we'll get this program going for you. So here we are, we're continuing on to this COVID-19. There is some light at the end of the tunnel, but still this is something that we can help people with right now. And as we phase back in, which could take another month or so, this is still a way that our doctors and even non-doctors of ours can help their community. So thank you for tuning in and listening. Thank you for being part of this program if you're part of this program. And we will be back with another episode of the Daily Alert. Thanks for tuning in. This is Dr. Mike Carberry. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thanks.